All right, so we're going to show you how to drive in a star nut. Make sure you have the correct sizes. The 1 1/8", pretty common, even if you're using a tapered style steer tube. Go 1 1/8" to 1 1/2" or 1 1/4". Can't even get it started a little bit. It's just sitting right on top there. So we're going to force that in with some pressure. So there's a couple different tools we can use. I got the old school Park Tool TNS-1. It'll work for 1 inch and 1 1/8" steer tube. So with this style, we're going to go ahead and screw this on. And the flanges are going to be pointed upward like that. Up, not down. So it's going to drive in much easier that way, but when you try and pull up, it will not move because it's going to engage and lock itself with the inside of the steer tube here. So this one is a little bit harder. They got the newer style with the slide sleeve. That one actually sets it for you in place. So right now I'm kind of going to be working a little bit harder, generally because when I go to pound this, I try and keep the fork off the ground just in case we don't want to hurt the dropouts here, or sometimes you have some buttons or knobs on the bottom that could be directly coming in contact. We don't want to destroy those or hurt those in any way, so we don't want to put this directly on the table if we can avoid it, unless you have some nice foam or a soft piece of wood, which is not a bad idea. I'm going to use a soft piece of pine I can put right underneath here. That way it'll press into the pine rather than take some of the jolting away from the dropouts here. So this is an older fork. I'm not too worried about messing this one up. I use this for class. So trick is here to hold this in place. We're keeping it a nice straight alignment, holding that, and careful not to get your fingers pinched or cut right over here. So this is a bit trickier with this older style. So holding that straight, and then we're getting a hammer, not a mallet. You want to use something with a little bit more weight. And then you're holding it like that. Give it just a gentle tap so you can get it started. So right there I got it started, but it's also a little bit crooked. So that's okay. We can go ahead with your hand here. You're gonna move this a little bit straight. Gonna grab this, you're gonna guide it. So you're gonna put a little pressure going this way, just very gently. Sometimes you can straighten it out by hand. Careful not to pinch your fingers. Go ahead and give it a few more taps as you're holding that pressure. And I got it to straighten out quite a bit there. So it's looking pretty good. So now it's definitely enlarged. And then we're just gonna continue to pound real gently, making sure that it's going in even. If we get a little too crooked, it can get stuck. So before it gets way too crooked, stop, try and get this straighter, tap it left and right if you have to. So we're just gonna continue to drive this down. So it's gonna meet perfectly right at this edge, so it's going to drive it down to a perfect measurement. That's exactly what we want. Don't pinch your fingers. Take a look. Getting a little bit crooked there. If it's a little crooked, sometimes it will straighten itself out once you start hitting the top base of the steer tube. But I'm using my thumb here to push sideways to put some pressure to straighten it. There we go. Looking pretty good. So you're just looking at the line. You want the metal to meet perfectly all the way around. Now if you have a small gap in here on one side, it could be that the top of the steer tube got cut just slightly crooked. Not a big deal. As long as this is, close to 100%, maybe 99% straight, we're going to be okay. If it's too crooked, if that star nut is real crooked, when we go to put that top screw from the top cap screw in, it's going to be such at a bad angle that it may not want to start that screw. So that's why it's very important that that star nut goes in straight. So now what that star nut does, now that we have it driven in here, it's held in there, it's not going to move. When we go to put our top cap on, here's our top cap bolt, also called a preload adjusting bolt. Now when I screw this in, it's screwing directly into the star nut, which is now connected to the fork here, or steer tube, so it becomes one. So I can hang on to this, and it also has the fork with it. So when I make this tightening adjustment, It's bringing everything up. It's bringing the fork up, making good contact with your head tube, with your headset, taking any play out. It's just a fine adjustment screw here, so we're never to tighten this to a high torque setting. It's probably 2 or 3 Newton meters, if that.